Hello, my name is Jim Byer. I'm a USA Volleyball National Referee from Urbandale, Iowa. It is my privilege to host a volleyball video clinic based on overlap and alignment. Every effort has been made to use accepted techniques. Throughout the video, you will notice the different referee uniforms as well as the different signal sequences. What you are about to see and hear has been reviewed and edited by referees and coaches to guarantee the most accurate information. So if there's something you feel does not conform with your specific state, region, or local association, please use it as a training opportunity. Besides the judgment involved in setting a consistent line of making ball handling decisions, one of the most difficult areas for volleyball officials to assess is the position players on the court are in from the beginning to the end of each rally. We've been watching an extended rally, which eventually will be won by the black team. The goal of this video will be to provide officials at every level of experience a clear understanding of how to identify the position of players. This actually occurs prior to each rally. So let's begin with the basics. With the serving team on the far court and the receiving team on the near court, player positions are numbered according to their service order. The last server on the receiving team and the server occupy position number 1, the right back. The next server for each team occupies position number 2, the right front. Position number 3 is the center front. Position number 4 is the left front. Position number 5 is the left back. And position number 6 is the center back. Here's a quick review. Player positions are established at the moment the serve is contacted. The first referee is responsible to determine if players on the serving team are correctly positioned, while the second referee is responsible to determine if players on the receiving team are correctly positioned. Players not in their correct position at the exact moment the serve is contacted are considered overlap or out of alignment, which by rule is a positional fault on the serving team and a rotational fault on the receiving team, resulting in loss of rally. That determination is made based on the player's nearest foot to the sideline or center line in contact with the floor relative to adjacent players. For each individual position, look at the receiving team. The players adjacent to position number 1, the right back, are position number 6, the center back, and position number 2, the right front. The right back must have a foot closer to the right sideline than the center back and must not have a foot closer to the center line than the right front. So adjacent to the right front is the right back and the center front. The right front must have a foot closer to the center line than the right back, and must have a foot closer to the right sideline than the center front. So adjacent to the center front is the right front, the left front, the center back. The center front must not have a foot closer to the right sideline than the right front, and must not have a foot closer to the left sideline as the left front, and must have a foot closer to the center line than the center back. Adjacent to the left front is the center front and the left back. The left front must have a foot closer to the left sideline than the center front, and must have a foot closer to the center line than the left back. Adjacent to the left back is the left front and the center back. The left back must not have a foot closer to the center line than the left front, and must have a foot closer to the left sideline than the center back. To complete the correct position for all 6 players, adjacent to the center back is the left back, right back, and center front. The center back must not have a foot closer to the left sideline than the left back, or closer to the right sideline than the right back, or closer to the center line than the center front. Well, that's a lot to process, so it might be a good time to collect your thoughts and play this section back. Here we have an overlap or out of alignment or rotation. The left back is already closer to the center line than the left front. The signal for overlap is a circular motion with the arm extended at a 45-degree angle from the body and a finger point or open hand, palm down, on the side which the overlap occurs. Be prepared to give a brief explanation to the coach or captain what players were involved in the overlap. Give the numbers. Say something like, number 5 and number 8 were overlapped. If a further explanation is necessary, use the names of the positions along with the players' numbers. Number 8, the left back, was closer to the center line than number 5, the left front.
What was the call?
Coach, you get your left back and your left front overlap.
Overlapped?
Yes.
How?
Number 5 is your left front. Number 8 is your left back. Okay.
In the event you call an overlap and an overlap did not occur, acknowledge it. Calmly signal a replay without any further delay. When calling an overlap, be certain. That certainty may be confirmed in the next complete rotation. In other words, you suspect an overlap, but because you are not certain, you do not call it. When the players return to that same rotation, with the help of your partner, or confirmation from the scorer, or scanning the lineup sheet or lineup card, you are now confident to make the call. It's time for a question. Can the first referee call overlap on the receiving team? In the spirit of getting the call right, if in the peripheral view the first referee is certain an overlap has occurred on the receiving team and the second referee is uncertain, the answer is yes. However, I would recommend there be some discussion between the officials before the match, during a timeout, between sets, and a warning given.
Please watch that.
The first referee's range of viewing should focus on the 2 players in the back row and the front row players who may be switching positions. Also look for screening. The second referee's range of viewing should focus on the possibility of the setter leaving too early, identifying who is in the front row or back row. If not certain, ask the scorer.
These are my next 3 servers.
5, 10, and 15.
Scan the lineup sheet or lineup card. Verify the last server for both teams.
8 on your right, 5 on your left.
Please note, only players on the court are determined to be potentially overlapped. If the server is correctly positioned in the service zone, at the moment the serve is contacted, the correct server cannot be involved in an overlap. Also, the first referee, the second referee, and the line judges must ensure that all players on the court have both feet completely on their half of the court at the moment the serve is contacted. If they do not, the signal would be line fault. It is likely when an overlap occurs, the setter is involved. It might be because the setter is moving from a legal position to an overlap position, which is called leaving too early, or already establishing a position out of rotation. The setter would do this in order to be in a position to best receive that first pass. Before each rally, as the teams set up their offense and defense, both officials must follow or track the setter as she moves from position to position during a complete rotation. There are a number of ways to do this. Memorize the setter's number and the number of the player who is opposite the setter. Opposite means two players are in positions that differ by 3. So if the setter is in position number 1, the player opposite is in position number 4. If the setter is in position number 2, the player opposite is in position number 5, etc. So if the setter is in the back row, the player opposite is in the front row, and vice versa. Use identifying features such as hair color, hairstyle, knee pads, shoe style, etc. Observe the players who box in the setter. That means the player before and after the setter in order of service. Typically, the setter follows the best middle hitter, who then is replaced by the libero. Make every effort in the pregame warm-up to see who it is that is setting. And when the lineup sheets are turned in, see what position the setter will be starting in and who is opposite. Advanced referees will attempt to memorize the others who are opposite. After the first set, since the R1 does not see the lineup, teams that hide the setter from their opponent, where they could either be a left front, left back, or right front, right back, the R1 may authorize the R2 to call an illegal attack or block on the first play of that set. There are 2 prominent offenses used by most teams: the 5-1 and the 6-2. The 5-1 offense is probably the most popular offense. There is one setter who plays all 6 positions and 5 hitters. Generally, the first server of the set will be the setter, and opposite the setter will be the right side hitter. When the setter eventually rotates to the front row, be aware there may be a substitution for the server, or the substitution may take place for the right back after the loss of rally, or the right back may be replaced by the libero after the loss of rally. Second in popularity is the 6-2 offense, where a team uses 2 setters who do not normally play at the same time. When the current setter rotates to the front row, the other setter comes in to serve for the hitter who would have been the server, and a hitter comes in for the current setter to play in the front row. When a front row setter is in the attack zone, you must be prepared for dumps and spikes. When a setter is in the back row, that's when the possibility of illegal back row attacks or illegal back row blocks will occur due to an overpass. No matter what offense is employed, it is vital to always know what row the setter is in, front row or back row, and who is opposite the setter. Here we have a left front hitter who wants to hit outside right and she moves too quickly and overlaps with the center front. If the serve is contacted, players may move to any position on the court. To get to the position they want with the least amount of movement, an overlap may occur. Because teams will designate specialized roles, primary passers want to be located where they have the least movement. This topic is intended for advanced referees. Novice or newer officials should strive to call overlap by the book. Here is a common overlap. With the setter in the center back position pushing the center front, the libero in the right back position will move to a position that allows her to be a primary passer. The overlap may be unintentional, but must be called. But if it's so close to count floorboards, scrutinize where their feet are located. Do not signal overlap. It then becomes your judgment how slight of an overlap you might ignore. You certainly have the authority to warn the player or the coach. Warning is commonly referred to as a gray area, which some interpret as being proactive, so as to prevent a violation. At no time should you approach a player or coach and say, "The next time you're overlapped, I'm going to call it." However, if you feel a warning is warranted, you could say something like, "There is a potential for an overlap between," and then give the numbers. Or say the setter is close to leaving early. This dialogue may prevent an overlap later in the match. An overlap can be called without prior warning, even though one team has been warned. I must now warn the other team to keep things even. Evening things up should never be part of our vernacular. The important thing is to establish and maintain a credible and impartial level as we make hundreds of decisions during every match. During play, if there is uncertainty where the setter is, front row or back row, look for the player opposite and judge her actions. If she is blocking or attacking, the setter is in the back row. If you see the setter approach the net on offense and move away on defense, more than likely the setter is in the back row. Very few teams will try to hide an illegal back row attacker or illegal back row blocker by making it appear the player was in the front row upon completion of the rally. You will probably get some help from the opponent. This is a call you may make late. That is, until the next beckon and whistle. In fact, some teams, before the rally, will call out the numbers of the players they think are in the front row.
Got two hitters, 7 and 1, sets number 5.
Or say if the setter is live.
Sets live.
Or 2 hitters.
Got 2 hitters.
Meaning the setter can legally attack the ball. 3 hitters mean the setter is in the back row.
Sets back row, got 3 hitters.
Sometimes the opponent can be wrong.
5 setter, 7 and 1 are hitters. Sets back row, front row. Whoopsie.
So if you call an illegal back row attack or illegal back row block, make sure you are certain, just as you would be certain in calling an overlap. Position of players is established at the moment the serve is contacted. Overlap only pertains to adjacent players. For example, an overlap cannot occur between the left front and center back. The popular catchphrase is to be 105% sure. If you err, then calmly call a replay as a matter of correcting an incorrect call. Don't dwell on it, concentrate on the next play. Officials should communicate to get the call right, even after the rally, if necessary. Most overlaps involve the setter, but may also involve primary passers and hitters getting to a position they want with the least amount of movement. Before, during, and after each rally, the position of the setter must be known. Knowing who is opposite the setter is a way to track the setter. The opponent's assessment of who is in the front row or back row may or may not be correct. As you gain experience, you will have the confidence to know when player position violations occur. I want to introduce Amy Farber-Knowles. Amy has a wealth of volleyball experiences as an All-Big 8 Conference outside hitter for the University of Oklahoma, NCAA tournament head coach, and now as a referee. Amy is going to explain some of the philosophy that goes into the positioning of players.
Thanks, Jim.
The philosophy of rotation alignments is to allow the setter the greatest advantage or path to the net for running the offense. Coaches determine based on skill level and other factors how many primary passers they will use in their serve-receive rotations. You will see there will be both a two-person primary passing option as well as a three-person primary passing option. A front row hitter is often used as a primary passer, and this is where some overlaps may occur. We are going to look at 7 common serve-receive patterns for the 5-1 offense. With the setter in each position, designated with an S, there are hitters designated with an H, and primary passers designated with a P. In order of rotations, and the setter in position number 1, the right back. Coaches often align their hitters in a very common formation to simplify their offense for both their hitters and their setter. What you see is all 3 hitters lined up in their actual rotations to run their offense. Also, the setter in position number 1, the right back, you see the hitters stacked to the left for a more complex offense to make it more difficult for the blocking team to defend. The setter in position number 6, the center back, often stacks behind her opposite in this rotation to allow her the shortest path to the net. The setter in position number 5, the left back, is commonly the most difficult transition for the setter, based on where the left front hitter lines up in serve-receive. Often the overlap occurs in this rotation by the setter releasing early because of the distance of her transition to the net. The setter in position number 4, the left front, is located left of her middle and outside hitters. The setter often releases early as well in this rotation, causing an overlap, again due to the distance and movement to get into proper position to receive the pass from her primary passers. The setter in position number 3, the center front, is one of the 2 easiest positions for the setter and easy to spot as an official. As in the last rotation, notice the use of 3 primary passers. More than likely, one of these is the libero, who may vie for better position to receive the serve and be out of rotation. The setter in position number 2, the right front, is the easiest rotation for the setter as she does not have to transition to her designated spot for serve receive. Again, be aware of any potential overlaps with the libero in the back row.